But the girls are like, oops, we forgot about the meat. And then I have a note here that says they basically killed that duck for no reason.
Yeah, they fucked that dog up. They fucking butcher the shit out of it.
And then ruin all of the meat. And they're like, whoopsie daisy.
We gonna eat good tonight.
Hi, friends. Welcome to the Anime Book Club podcast. I'm your host, DJ Montague.
And I'm your host, Greg. And here we review anime from classics to brand new stuff, hidden gems, and controversial favorites.
You'll hear all of our hot takes, rants,
and genius observations. So thanks for tuning in, and buckle up because the episode starts now.
By the way, friends, these episodes contain spoilers, so be careful and don't ruin this anime for yourself. You've been warned.
Greg, hit him with the intro thing.
Okay, here we go. Welcome everybody to the Anime Book Club podcast. My name is Greg, the size of a full-scale H-2 rocket, sleeping on the job while others repair motorcycles for me, and I get to reap all of the rewards, running headfirst into danger the second I hear a waterfall, and the Brocken Spectre himself, Big Smart Large Jesus, and I am joined with my friend, the alien, who will revisit me at this exact location in 100 years. This is where you say your name.
Hi. I was going to go with the Bridge to Space, apparently, that was built within like 200 years. And then also the Ghost Loser, the first loser of all the ghosts. The dude who's afraid of his own shadow for some reason. DJ Montague, hello.
And today we are going to talk about episodes 7 through episode 12, the finale of Touring After the Apocalypse.
Yes, we are.
Everybody, welcome to the show.
Welcome, friends. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And I just want you to know that no matter what we say on these episodes are opinions. And if you loved this anime, cool. It's like super sick, dude. And I'm really happy for you. Greg, how are you feeling about Touring After the Apocalypse?
Damn, you're really buffering in the beginning here for when we talk about it later.
Yeah, I just wanted people to lower their expectations because I didn't. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that the show like wraps up fine, which is weird because I didn't think I was gonna I was like on episode 8 and I was just like, what is this? What was the point of what I watched? And then I realized something. This show's not for me. It's a show that is for people that like to travel in Japan and want to see like another slice and flavor of it. That's it. And there's like Japanese inside jokes. And yeah, I'm just like, I'm lost. I'm lost in the sauce.
I actually have a few notes about that same thing where I don't know how much of this show we're losing because of the Japanese culture and folklore references and the fact that we didn't actually go through the Japanese school system and kind of learn about Japanese history. So maybe someone that knows about all of that stuff will get something different from the show than we are. I should probably read some forum posts about this just to make sure that what we are thinking right now about the show just completely losing both of us is valid or not. So I'm not sure, but I'm on board with you that I don't think this show is for me. I don't think it's for you. I don't know if it's for anyone that doesn't have like a intermediate understanding of Japanese history and folklore. I am currently under the intermediate level. I am probably more towards basic or non-existent. Unlike DJ Montague, who is the subject matter expert of all things Japanese history and folklore. He actually is the holder of one of the PhDs of Japanese history from the College of Tokyo.
That's such a bold lie that you tell every time so wonderfully that I just have to point it out that Greg's lying. I don't know any Japanese. I don't know anything about Japan other than that I'd like to go and hang out.
I mean, last episode you said Kuma was bear. So
I did.
You lied, and you do know some Japanese. Who's a
Damn.
liar now?
He got me. He fucking got me. Thank you, Tekken. Damn you, Harada, you did it again.
I suppose we could just jump right in because a lot of this stuff that we're talking about now, I have notes littered in here about all of this crazy folklore stuff that I had to look up after the episode was over because I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
I do want to say that the show is very pretty. Like, a lot of the stills are just really beautiful. And it's not like Solo Camping for Two, where you could tell that a lot of it's just like a picture taken and then like edited on a computer to look cartoony, quote unquote. Like, they're drawn extremely well. It's very pretty to look at. It's just something like, I'm definitely a tourist in the realm of what this show is. Like, I'm not well enough versed to really appreciate it, I think. It's like if you gave someone that just started speaking English like Romeo and Juliet and you're like, "Hey, this is a different style of English, good luck." And they're just gonna be like, "This is gibberish."
They do something animation wise at the final episode, something that the Summer Hikaru Died did as well. And I think that style is very interesting, and I do see it creeping a little bit more into anime. And a couple things that this show did that I don't understand is kind of like the different animation styles that they use. I think it was last episode when they were doing the driving through the fucking water spouts and shit. When they did like that full CG moment when they're like driving across the bridge and then Yoko and Irie and the motorcycle are like in full CG for, I don't know, like 7 seconds. And then they like cut back to traditional animation style. I don't know why they did that. And then same here in episode 12, where we'll get to this style. I don't know why it's not used more. Like, why is it only used for these end scenes? Because I think in The Summer Hikaru Died as well, I can't recall any of the other episodes using that same style of taking like a real picture and then having the animation over it. Because in The Summer Hikaru Died, that's when they were like riding the train, I think. And it was like the real pictures of the train. And then here in this anime, they do the same thing, but it's only this finale episode.
I don't know if they didn't do that here because it's hard to, like, some of the things that I have are petty grievances about this show that I think are lost on the story they're trying to tell. Like, I'm being petty, and it frustrates me as the viewer. Greg, do you want to just get into it?
Yeah, let's just get into it, and then we will air our petty grievances, and I will be the judge, jury, and executioner of these grievances to see if they are valid or not. Prepare to be judged. Episode 7 of Touring After the Apocalypse. We have left Umi Hotaru, and the girls are now in Kashiwa looking for something. And they make their way through the tall grass and find a statue of an old motorcycle. It cuts to a flashback of the Tsukuba Motorcycle Shrine, and there's lots of people, and Yoko's sister, and what looks to be an older Yoko praying at the shrine. And she wishes that they can continue touring and the world would last just a little bit longer. So if we remember from a few of the other episodes during the credits, they would show a girl that I think you thought was Yoko's sister in the beginning. And I was like, oh no, her hair color is different. So I think it was actually like old Yoko, older looking Yoko, in those screenshots where they like cover her face or her eyes so you can't fully tell who she is. And even after the end of the series, I'm not sure I'm following like Yoko and her sister in these flashbacks doing like the tour themselves, but then like young Yoko doing the tour again, like as a kid. I'm sure it probably has something going on.
This is part of my theory. This is the part where they go to the scientific building.
This episode is where they go and get checked out in the science area or whatever.
Okay, just to make sure. I have a lot less screenshots for this than I did for Tojima, because like I was bored half the time. So I will spoil my theory right now because it is apt for this. I think current Yoko, the one that we're watching, is a clone. And I think that the big sister that we know as has been assimilated to AI like DG Akiba. and she wanted the human race to continue in any way that she could, what power she had, and probably was like some sort of scientist or something or other, or just attached her personality to like a teaching program or something like that. And then cloned her sister, her most beloved person, so that she could continue on. I think Irie is like just like an appliance almost that was created for her to have a companion to go around with.
Okay. I will save my theories for the end.
Is one of your theories close?
Yes, it is. Yeah, I need like 10 minutes to just air out all of these theories at the end. And I can't do it now. But yes,
ready.
I have a theory that is close to what you just said.
Okay.
But older looking Yoko asks what her sister wished for, and she said the same thing, and to be with Yoko forever. And then again, like that, I have another note, like I can't even get past fucking like 3 notes before I have another note. That is basically what Irie said to Yoko when they had that conversation about what would you do if I wasn't here or you were alone, back in like episode 2 or 3, after Schwarchan threw himself off of the cliff into the orca infested waters.
Man.
So yeah, the fact that they reused that line in this flashback makes me think. But it cuts back to young Yoko and Irie, and they cleaned up the motorcycle shrine and pray to it, like in the flashback. And Yoko asks Irie what she wished for, and she said pudding. But it cuts to a little charm that says Irie wants to keep touring with Yoko wherever she goes, and a little charm that says Yoko wants to keep touring with Irie forever. The girls continue, and Yoko is singing a song, and Irie is like, "What song is that?" And Yoko said it's a song she wrote for Tsukuba, and each letter was food related. They reach a structure, and Irie says that it's the Science Gate, and the balls suspended from it show the faces of 4 scientists if you look at it from different angles.
So rad, dude. That is such a cool, like, that is real and in Japan, correct?
I assume it's real, and
Greg,
I also
we're
assume
gonna go
it's in
touch
Japan.
those balls.
I mean, you've already touched them because you have been all over Japan already without me. Probably in your dream. It was so lifelike. And then once you get there, you'll know where to go because you've dreamed it before.
No, none of that's ever happened. I do dream about Japan every now and then, but I don't dream of touching these steel balls that look like Isaac Newton and shit. And Galileo.
If you look at it from the east, it's Edison. South is Newton. West is Archimedes. And north is Galileo. And Yoko asks what a science gate is, and Irie quotes Galileo, "You can't teach anybody anything. Only make them realize the answers are already inside them."
Do you have to say this because I have vocal stems that are so stupid? What if his name was fuck, I had it. I had it in my head. Oh, Galalale from fucking Metal Gear Solid.
Nice,
Anyways.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Irie
I'm so
says
sorry.
this was the location of the World Expo, and Yoko looks around and is like, "I don't see shit." And Irie asks what she's looking for, and she has the picture of the Tower of the Sun on her phone. And Irie is like, "That's the Osaka World Expo, you dummy." So it's the wrong location. And the place I've been to. Irie continues and says the Tower of the Sun is at the Expo Commemoration Park in Osaka. And Yoko is like, okay, so it isn't here. And Irie says the Scuba World Expo was the Science Expo in 1985, and the Science Gate was built to commemorate the hosting of the Science Expo, and then they take a selfie. They continue on, and Irie is like, "Are we going the right way? We passed the address on the email." And Yoko is like, "Well, I think we're going the right way." But then they hit a barricade and a giant sinkhole. And Yoko was like, "I think this is the research facility." Irie is like, "Nah, girl, this isn't it. The research facility is more south." And Yoko is like, "I thought I knew where it was," and wonders why this seemed so familiar. Do you know why it seems so familiar?
Because Yoko was created here. I don't know. That's what's your theory, Greg?
I don't know. I just baited you to see what it was, and that actually makes sense.
Shit, man. Like, you can't. I have all the theory. It's later on. I got more to the theory.
Yeah, I mean, they don't explain this later on in the series either.
They explain nothing.
So, I mean, I didn't think of it that way, but if we go with the clone theory, then yeah, that totally makes sense. I don't think that was the location of the shelter, and that's the only other thing I can think of. Or if Yoko does have some sort of uploaded memories of her past self or something like that, maybe she remembers it because she was also like a scientist with her sister or something like that. All theories.
I don't know. Okay, so like in relation to where they are by the end of the series versus the beginning, like they've said several times they're on the opposite side of Mount Fuji. And they even look at in the last episode and they look at it and they're like, wow, we traveled so far. We've come so far as people. I would say that like the clone theory is like really the best I've got for this show, because I do think Irie is a device that is memory wiped and given to Yoko every time she wants to leave and every time she's taught well enough. And maybe even a few of the Yokos that don't get to go. But I also don't think that this is, I would say like this is like the third clone. This is my theory.
Damn. Okay. Okay. I didn't have as detailed clone theory as you had, but I'll piggyback off of it here in a second.
Okay.
So the girls continue on the right track with Irie navigating, and Irie says Tsukuba was home to around 300 research organizations based on her database from 2010, and was home of approximately 8,000 PhD holders, one of them being DJ Montague.
No, one of them being Greg.
I don't even know how to spell PhD. They see a rocket, and Yoko is like...
That's so good. That's such a hard... Like, if you were in a rap battle, you were like, you ain't even gonna get your doctorate because you don't know how to spell PhD. Woo, Greg! I'd be like, he's spitting hot fire.
Oh, damn. Well, good thing I'm not a rapper, because I don't think it would have come out like that.
It would have been sick. It would have been so sick. That was a hard line.
You're a hard line.
Thanks.
They see a rocket, and Yoko is like, oh shit, why is there a big pencil here? And Irie says it's a full-scale model of the H2 rocket, and this is where they're supposed to be. And the building next door has existed since the expo and has the largest world planetarium. Irie says the email says the entrance to the lab is under the payphone in front of the rocket. And Yoko is like, oh shit, a payphone? What the hell is that?
Do you think this is a reference to Evangelion?
I don't know. I didn't get that feeling because nothing else in the episode I feel like really pointed in that direction, but it could be.
There are some references to a lot of other shows in this anime, but I got the feeling that this one was like deliberately put here for Evangelion. Like this whole purpose, because like they do go under Neo Tokyo through like these kinds of devices that are scattered around the city, don't they? If I remember correctly, it's been like 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a bit for me. The only image burned in my head is Shinji at the end and everyone clapping and destroying everything I thought about that anime. That's all I remember.
Clapping all of your mental health away.
Yeah, they're
like it's like
clapping my mental cheeks until they're no more.
You went a different direction. I was like, you're gonna have thought bubbles, and they're just like clapping the bubbles, you know?
Oh no!
But they're just literally blowing your mental cheeks out. Yeah. Anyways, god damn it.
So they go into the phone booth, and the phone starts ringing, and Yoko picks it up, and it detects her voice and grants access. In the phone booth is an elevator, and it shoots them downward. They get to the bottom, and it's like a bunker thing, and a bunch of doors open, 10 doors to be exact, judging by the sounds. And they enter, and Irie says it doesn't look like anyone has been here for a while. They enter a room, and it's completely open in white, and Yoko says it's kind of like the shelter. And then there's a computer voice, and it welcomes Yoko and Irie to the Tsukuba Research Facility, and they have been asked to service Irie the AI-RE06 model. Another door opens, labeled A-46, and the voice asks Irie to enter, and then the door closes, and then another door opens, labeled Y-21, and asks Yoko to enter. So to piggyback off of your clone theory, I wonder if these numbers are associated with the versions of Yoko and Irie. So there's been 45 other Irie models and 20 other Yoko clones, maybe?
That could be it, because they seem to know. Obviously they would. They developed these things, these androids or whatever they are. It would also make more sense because like they would increase the reactions of them to the point of being able to survive like the water spout incident. Also, I think that Yoko is an untrustworthy narrator in certain situations now that I think about it, because she's just a little girl going, "Oh, whatever, it's just crazy." You know what I mean? So like later on when they do the ascension of Sero going up the history, and she's like, "This is 1500 years of history that I'm ascending to try and get the aliens to notice me." And then the alien, like, whatever. It seems like that is just not true with how much time has truly passed. And she just doesn't know how far in the future they really are.
What if every place that they go and they do something dangerous, or either every time Yoko goes into like her dream world sequence or something, like that was a clone that died. And then when she wakes up, it's like a new clone.
I think that's really a good way of looking at it. Because like then you would have clones that lived in Japan, or at least experienced stuff with the Big Sister, or they're implanted with memories of the original from Big Sister being like, "Hey, we did all this," and she's finally like, she's the clone that's like realizing what's going on. And maybe they all do to a certain extent. But there's a lot of interesting theories with the show that we can extrapolate on. But this is what makes me sad about this show. Is like, this is a cool little thought experiment that we're doing now that we're talking about it. And it increases my score of the show. But this is because we're friends and like enjoying bouncing ideas off of each other. The show gives you fucking fuck all.
Yeah, I mean, the more that I think I said this in a previous episode, I'm hoping anyway that this was the goal of the show. It wasn't necessarily to tell us a story, but to kind of make us think what the story could have been. Like, it does annoy me a little bit that there is no closure and that we do have to do this exercise. I mean, we technically don't have to. We could just get mad. But
yeah,
the idea that it's not necessarily a story, it's just a platform for open discussion, I think is an interesting way to spend your airtime of anime. But we continue, and Yoko enters the room Y-21, and it's an exam room, and they are going to perform a health checkup. And it asks her to get naked and get on the table. And it starts its checkup process, and Yoko says she hasn't felt this way in a while, and she falls asleep as she gets a new email on her phone with the time showing 10:21 a.m. It has some atmospheric shots of outside, and then Yoko's sister's voice, and it says that Yoko and Irie can go as far as they want. And then Yoko wakes up, and the machine says her checkup is over, and it says she's extremely healthy, and another door opens, and she grabs her phone, which now says 5:09. So this was almost a 7-hour checkup.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
And the door is to another payphone, which takes her straight up. Yoko is sad that she didn't get to explore the facility, but then Irie rolls up with a space helmet on and says that Yoko is late. It's nighttime now, and Yoko asks Irie how her exam went, and she said it was instant, and she was waiting for Yoko since. But Yoko has a flashback to Irie falling over and is like, "Are you okay?" And Irie says they were able to fix the glitch and there isn't anything else wrong. Irie said while she was waiting, she went next door and found the space helmet, but there wasn't really anything else since none of the lights were working. But she also found some freeze-dried space food, and Irie got strawberry ice cream, and Yoko got takoyaki, and they split halvesies.
I have a minor theory that I forgot to announce that I would like to put out in the ether, that this is some sort of Truman Show-esque bullshit that they're subjecting these... I still think they're clones in this scenario, but I think there's some Truman-esque shit that humanity's still like testing to see if Earth is habitable, if they want to come back, but also it seems really strange, man.
As you said before, the little throwaway lines where Yoko's like, "This feels familiar. I haven't felt this in a while." Like that sort of stuff. It's like, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because another clone went through the same thing and then you have the shared memories of what that clone went through? There's so many unanswered questions about what is actually going on. And I did my best to try to pay attention to the little changes, the timestamps of what her clock said. It doesn't get resolved. They don't really follow up on this checkup besides what's in this episode. So there is like a lot of speculation going on here. And you could be onto something with the Truman Show idea, or more of like, I would say, a Apocalypse Hotel idea, where if something did happen to the Earth, as Irie said in episode 1 or 2, endocrine disruptors and making orcas big as shit, and there's giant ass trees. But the reason why I say that is because here in these next couple notes, it does insinuate that humans tried to go to the moon or were successful and they actually have a moon base there. And now everyone's just hanging out on the moon waiting for Yoko and Irie to figure out if Earth is still inhabitable or not from whatever the apocalypse that they're touring happened.
I don't think, like, if technology's advanced this much, because they talked about them beginning the building like hundreds of years ago of the bridge, where it's like this fucking spire that comes out of a country. It's like the bottom of Japan, and it's just like reaching up hundreds of miles into the fucking atmosphere.
Yeah, it's called the orbital elevator.
Yeah, which is insane. The amount of the technology to build like a Dyson sphere. You know what I mean? For us to be able to do something like that, we would have to already be starbound and be traveling regularly.
It's very similar to Moonrise. I know you didn't end up watching it, but in Moonrise, that was a big thing when they went to go colonize the moon. They built, I think they called them the same thing. They called them like orbital elevators or something like that, where it basically like launched you to the moon.
Interesting.
But Yoko looks at her phone and they have Turingram updates. And Irie says the research facility might have had reception. So they update and they can now use the stamp rally feature offline. And then Yoko also gets an email from her sister and it says they were able to fix Irie's glitch and she updated the app for them and they should try it out. And there's stamps where her sister has been, and there's one close by in Kasumigara. So this is the other thing I thought was weird too. Man, I haven't even got through episode 7 and I'm already fucking talking this much.
It's wild.
Why didn't they try to respond? So they get these emails from her sister and she's telling them like, oh yeah, your app's updated. Oh, Irie needs some fucking maintenance. Go get her checked out. Oh, everything looks good with Irie. Like she's getting like live up-to-date fucking emails and shit. But like, why did they not try to respond to the email or reach out to her sister at any point or try to make communication with anybody else? Let's just assume that this whole like reception thing is like real, and for some reason the fucking facility had free Wi-Fi at Starbucks. And next time you go somewhere, because there's 2 times, like one after the Umi Hotaru thing where they got reception. Again, they got reception here. Why wouldn't you just draft an email and just have it sit in your outbox so next time you get connected, it would like fucking send?
I think you're thinking so much more about trying to communicate with someone that didn't care to write something along those lines. Because like we get this situation where we have a third instance later on where the alien like is trying to guide Irie somewhere. And like you would assume it's a very similar thing where there's some sort of reception, there's some sort of outside thing that is interacting with them. Why does Yoko not wake up? Why does Irie not try harder? I mean, she tries decently hard, but it's like for the writer to execute this, you have to have them split up. And I don't think Irie, after all that we've seen, would really leave Yoko's side if she was worried about, like, anything. And also, if you were out in the wilderness, truly, why would your caretaker risk your life? She could get bit by a rat, like, right now.
I have a bunch of notes on that.
Okay.
Same vein. Okay, I'm just going to keep jamming through.
Yeah,
because
we're going to be here a while.
Yeah, like this is the thing that, just real quick, I do like the speculation. I actually think this is kind of fun. Us trying to like figure out what's going on. But now I don't know like what is real and what isn't. In the fact of, did they even mean to like write this in? Because now like, oh, am I going too deep with this whole reception idea and like her not sending a reply email and trying to get into communication because they've proven that they can get cellular or wireless or whatever the fuck is sending messages. So did they not even think about that? Am I just poking like too many holes in the story that they didn't mean? And I don't get any closure. And I think that's the thing that frustrates me the most is I like doing this analysis, but then also if I'm completely off base, like I would like some sort of boundary that is just like, hey, you're going a little too far. Bring it back in a little bit. It was warmer over here. So kind of build those theories out a little.
I agree with you. I think there should be a little more structure, but I think that this is like an homage to the abstract when it comes to storytelling. And whether or not I really enjoy it, again, spoiler alert, I don't, because I don't think that they take the time to do this well.
Yeah.
It is fun, don't get me wrong, like I said before, it's fun to like bounce ideas. It's also just fun to talk to you, Greg. This is what this show ends up being the perfect like device for us to talk about, because we could talk about it forever. But also, let's keep going.
They decide to spend the night at the facility and will go there tomorrow, and they hang out in the busted planetarium looking at the real stars. Yoko was like, man, this research facility looked like our shelter, so I thought someone would be there, and wonders if there are any other facilities, and also wonders where her sister could be. They see a satellite in the sky and is like, think someone is on there? And Yoko is like, maybe. There was a space station and also colonization on the moon, and there was supposed to be an orbital elevator near the equator. Spoiler alert, all those satellites are just fucking sharks that orcas had butted into space.
Yeah, nice.
They start seeing a bunch of shooting stars, and Yoko starts singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star in English. And that is how the episode ends. And I have a note here that says we get more backstory into their world with the space colony and the moon colonization and the orbital elevator, that maybe humans were trying to escape Earth, similar to Apocalypse Hotel.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you want to escape Earth?
Nah, just put me 6 feet under, dude.
Get me into space. Shoot me into the sun.
6 feet under the sun. I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah, I mean, that's fucking great, yeah.
But okay, we move on to episode 8, and this one has the least amount of notes. The girls are cruising and see a bunch of different fish jumping out of ponds and shit, and Yoko is like, today isn't the day for fish. Our dinner will be yakitori. Irie is stalking some ducks and just blasts one in the neck with her slingshot and a fucking coin, and Yoko is just walking through mud for some reason and runs into a turtle, but then reaches into the mud and pulls up a lotus root, but then falls in the mud and is like, hey, this is pretty nice, and then she takes a mud bath. Irie looks jealous and then jumps in fully clothed into the mud, and now they're doing some weird mud wrestling shit, but then an ominous cloud passes over and Irie fully submerges in mud and then pops back up. And then I have a note here that says the past few episodes, it feels like Irie is going full murder robot mode. Because when she popped out of like the mud, she looked like Arnold from Predator.
Yeah, I think that was the reference, but also, like, I don't understand what is happening. I never have. I don't think I ever will.
Nope. They find some old fishing rods in the mud, and Yoko is like, I guess people fished here a long time ago. Maybe we should have fished after all.
Real quick, sorry. There is a manga of this, and the artist and director or writer has done other works. So this isn't like their first thing. This was meant to be like this.
Good to know. Good info.
I mean, they have 4 works. So at least that I know of.
Maybe they're linked. Maybe they're like multiverse style works of some sort.
Very possible. And this one was it for sure. And then they're going to do, what's the cat one? Pet Cemetery. The World War II robot souls thing.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, he already nailed that one. I don't know their other works, so it's very weird. This was a strange experience.
Yeah, I agree. They get back to their duck and are getting ready to butcher it, and we have a butchering tutorial, and then I said kind of weird. They skewer up some duck meat and lotus root, and while it's cooking, they go look for Turingram stamps and find some tower and immediately break into it and start racing up the stairs with zero regard for safety.
I think that at least we get an answer to these 2 questions. On why the fuck, like, she's like the Terminator of kicking doors in and shit. And like exploring. Because like, she just doesn't care.
Yeah, which bugs me. Because you're not trying to survive, but then if you're also cloned and you don't care about surviving because Y-22 will take your spot after you literally run off the top of some stairs because the floor is gone because you didn't even fucking check. Yeah, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and when they first butchered the duck and started cooking the shit, and then they decided to leave, immediately I was like, that shit's gonna burn.
Yeah, I just sat there and I was like, you could have waited 5 fucking minutes without running off and you would have had sick duck.
They get to the top and they see messages people wrote, and they can see Mount Tsukuba and Mount Fuji. Irie gives some fun facts about the lakes in the area and water quality, but Yoko is like, hey, I found it. And there's a flyer for the stamp rally, and she scans a QR code and gets the Kasumigara stamp. And she's like, damn, there were probably stamps at Hakone and Umihotaru too. Oh well. Irie is like, where to next? And Yoko wants to go to the Motegi circuit. And they scroll through the pics of her sister in the race, and she says there used to be big bike races there, but the girls are like, oops, we forgot about the meat. And then I have a note here that says they basically killed that duck for no reason.
Yeah, they fucked that duck up. Nearly decapitated it with one shot. They fucking butcher the shit out of it.
And then ruin
like,
all of the meat. And they're like, whoopsie daisy.
We gonna eat good tonight.
But I also have another note in here later that I'll get to. But I thought this part was really weird. So you're okay with blasting a duck in the neck with a fucking 500 yen coin or whatever. But whenever there's a time where there's human remains, Yoko always steers Irie away. And we saw it in past episodes too, when they went into that house and those people were just kind of laying down in bed and the remains were there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
There were a couple other instances where there were human remains. And then when we see in the later episode, when they go inside of the fucking mine or whatever the hell it is, it's the same thing. She always turns her away. Like they turn around whenever there's like human remains.
I literally didn't even notice in the mine situation. Like, I don't know where the human remains you're talking about are.
Oh, they had like a screenshot when like they walked in and Yoko was like, hey, we should turn back. And then Irie's like, you sure? And she's like, yeah, let's just get out of here. And then they show like a wide shot of the mines. And then there's like, I don't know, 10 or 12 different bodies. We'll get to it here.
Get a screenshot of that at all. Oh man, that's
it's okay.
Really sad. That would have solidified my theory a little bit more that Yoko was meant to be the older sister that the big sis loved so much and cloned.
Damn.
Because Irie's supposed to be the little sister. Well, like emotionally at least, to Yoko, so that she has something to protect in her eyes. That's my theory on that.
So again, more unanswered things that I'm actually thinking of live as we're going through the notes. The next day, the girls continue and are making motorcycle noises as they ride and get to the Motegi circuit, and they walk around and talk about it, and then Yoko is like, I'm hella going on this. And as they go, the bike is at 10% battery, so they decide to stay the night and charge the bike and try again tomorrow, and instead go exploring. They find some racing flags and stuff, and then find the stamp QR code and get the Mobility Resort Motegi stamp. Yoko finds the finish line, but then hears the sounds of real motorcycles and has like a supernatural experience. But then Irie rolls up and is like, hey, you good? And she's like, yeah, must have just been the wind. It shows some shots of the museum that has old cars and bikes and also robots. And it has some blue floaty things over the robots, probably to foreshadow something, which is true. The girls pitch their tent and there's a bunch of fireflies, and Yoko says that people long ago believed that a firefly's glow was a human soul. Irie is like, Yoko, what's a soul? But Yoko has a hard time explaining it, and it's just like, a soul's a soul, you know what I mean? Hey.
Yep, totally, lady.
Yoko has another dream sequence of the Motegi circuit, and it's the 40th anniversary festival, and you can see robots, like Ichiro, handing out balloons. And engines are revving, and it's a mix of famous cars and motorcycles on the circuit. And now Yoko is driving on the circuit, and she's like, oh shit, this is fucking crazy. The next morning, Yoko tells Irie about her dream, and she's like sick. And Yoko says she was racing just like her sister, and she hops on the bike, which is now at 100%. And she's going to race for realsies. Race for pinks, if you will. But Irie is like, hey, I found something sick. And she opens one of the paddock stalls, and it has a helmet and gloves. And a note from a dude named Takashi.
I think that's a reference to a very famous driver in Japan. So
probably.
I'm not certain on that, but they do have weird, like, different homages to people that I think that this writer is really into bikes. Really into fucking motorcycles, dude.
Yeah, good for him. And
Yeah.
and again, right, this is kind of what we talked about in the beginning. A lot of these references are probably lost on us because I'm sure some of these people are like famous, and then any Japanese gearhead would just be like, "Oh shit, look, Takashi, like his gloves and his helmet, like, oh man, this is crazy." But I'm sitting here
Right.
like, who the fuck's that?
Right. I do wish that translators could take a little more liberty with stuff like this, but I also don't expect them to go above and beyond. So it's like one of those like, okay, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because if they did, some people will complain about like, well, I already know this stuff. Why did you post that on my episode? You didn't need to put the words there. I'm watching the show. And then you would have like me, who wants to learn more about Japan, because I am not a savant like Greg's likes to say. And I don't want people to get lambasted for posting up information.
Yeah, I mean, you can do research too. I did it a little bit during this series, and I've done it with other
What's that? What was the words you said?
research. I think it's similar.
Research?
I think it's similar to like a PhD. I don't know what that is either, but I feel like they're similar.
I don't know how to spell either of those.
Yoko sports the helmet and is ready to ride, and revs her e-bike and races around the track, and it shows more shots of inside the museum of the old cars and bikes and robots and stuff.
Did you notice that all of this was pristine?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And then I have a note here that piggybacks off of your thing about survival, where I'm like, probably not the smartest thing to do, race around this track on the only mode of transportation you have. And living in the apocalypse, but Yoko is immune to damage like we saw in last episode. So if she crashes headfirst, she'll just sleep it off and I'm sure she'll be fine.
Yes. Also, I do think Yoko's a lot more durable than we previously thought.
I mean, it kind of breaks the immersion a little bit. And I know I said it in a couple episodes ago when we were reviewing episode 3 or 4 or something like that. The whole survival aspect of this show, to me, is just like out the window. Like there's no longer like
100%.
surviving the apocalypse. It's just like, hey, let's go on tour with 2 girls that are fucking immune to everything and nothing bad happens.
That is what I think the show is now as well.
Yoko crosses the finish line and Irie waves the checkered flag. And Yoko was like, that was slow as shit. And Irie says the Sero was never meant to go fast since it was an off-road bike. And when her sister modified it to be electric, she did it for range, not speed. Irie is like, it's my turn to ride. And she hops on the bike, but she's too short. But then Yoko hops on and they ride together and they have a grand old time wasting the battery on their e-bike.
She's not too short. Her feet reach past the pedals.
Yeah, she can't touch the ground, but she technically can still ride that bike.
Yeah, 100%. It made me mad.
Yeah, but that's how episode 8 ends. And then we'll just go right into episode 9, which is a continuation from episode 8. So episode 9 starts with the girls, and they had fun at the circuit, are on the road again. But as they're driving, Yoko hears some ethereal voices telling her to wait. So she stops. And they stop in front of the Honda Collection Hall. And Yoko thinks it might be a bike museum, so they stop. They pry open the door, and this museum was what they were showing between scenes in the last episode. But then Yoko sees a little blue light, and she turns and says she feels something. And they go into some garbage room, and there's a robot, and Irie says it's an older model, and it isn't a cyborg like Schwarchan, just a regular robot. They see a breaker panel, and Yoko is like, you think the lights will turn on? And Irie is like, no way. But Yoko flips the breaker, and there's a large voltage spike, and everything turns on. And Irie says, maybe there are solar panels or a backup generator.
Also, Irie says at one point in this interaction, she's like, you knew where the panel was. It's like a throwaway line.
Yeah.
And Yoko's like, yep, I'm dope. And then they keep going.
Yep. Oh, yeah, this is the line. Irie is like, how did you know where the electrical room was? And Yoko is like, yeah, don't worry about it. And they go up a couple floors and find the robot exhibit. And then the robot from earlier teleports behind them, Nothing Personnel Kid, and says hello and scares
Snaps
the
both of their necks. Fucking end of show.
The robot introduces itself as Isaac, ISAAQ, and he's the guide for the museum. And Yoko is like, I wonder if I woke him up with the power. But then Isaac says he's been waiting for them for a long time. The girls introduce themselves, and he says their identity is recognized. And Yoko is like, sick. You want to show us around? And he's like, fuck yeah. And Yoko is like, can I call you Ai-chan? And he's like, Ai-chan, yup. He takes the girls to the bike part of the museum, and Yoko is ecstatic. And Ai-chan says they have more than 170 vehicles on display, and it features products from 1947 onward. Yoko is like, these bikes are sick. Can I sit on one? And Ai-chan is like, yeah, normally you don't touch the exhibits, but I'll make an exception since you're the first guests in a long time.
Where in the coding of Isaac is the limit? It's like, you're the first guest in over 1,000 days. Here you go. And just like, you can get on the bike. You know what I mean? Like, where's the hard cap?
There has to be one.
Right. Like, if they came like 2 days prior, they're like, it's only been 1,000 years since we had someone. So, unfortunately, you can't sit on the exhibits, but come back in 3 days.
Yeah.
We'll maybe let you do it.
But the girls sit in a Honda NSX, and then on a Honda Goldwing, and then the Honda small engine commuter bikes. They move on to the racing part of the exhibit, showing F1 and MotoGP vehicles, but then they stumble upon the 2001 NSR 500, and Yoko is like, fucking sick. I wonder what it sounds like. And Ai-chan is like, oh, it runs. You want to try that shit? And she's like, fuck yeah, I do. But he says it needs a service. And he says he can do it, but he's the only operational robot right now, and it takes multiple. And Yoko was like, well, let's all fix it together. Yippee! Yoko and Irie talk about which bike Irie would ride because she's so fucking small. But then Yoko hears a voice again, and she's like, Ai-chan, are there any other visitors besides us? And he says no, but then says the maintenance booth is downstairs. So they move the bike there. They get new tires and some biogasoline and get to fixin' as Yoko just falls asleep in a corner. Yoko has another dream of the Isaac robots servicing a racing bike. And Yoko is on the bike and her sister is there too recording. And Ai-chan is in the dream as well.
I like the part where whatever outside force is like, you're useless here, little girl. Just fucking take a nap. It does make me laugh.
Yeah, okay. Irie wakes up Yoko, and it's morning now, and she says they finished servicing the bike, and they took it to the circuit. And Ai-chan told her to change into a racing suit, and Yoko says it was the same one her sister was wearing. They go to the circuit, and the bike is running, and they tell Yoko to be careful. And she says she will, and tells Ai-chan that she's off to race, just like she did in her dream flashback thing. Yoko revs the engine and does a wheelie, but keeps it under control and races down the track.
Oh, she died there.
Yeah, probably.
This is clone number 23 now.
Yeah. Ai-chan says the other one is ready, and Irie hands him her red hat, like the one he had in the flashback. And she gets into the brand new second generation NSX Type S, but is controlling it via virtual reality.
Okay, I just want to say, look at the road. There's moss, there's grass in the road. They're driving on slicks. These two are fucking so dead.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, any turn, they're just into the walls in a fiery explosion of biogasoline. This is just like, to me, suspend all disbelief. Again, there's no reason to do this in the apocalypse, even if you get the chance.
No.
Unless you were able to clean the road.
With motorcycles in general, even switching lanes and passing over the lines of the road is a danger, especially in like wet conditions, because the paint makes that specific little line of the road more slick than the normal surface of the road. So just imagine that this road is just covered in a landmine of white lines, and Yoko is going, I think it says, I don't know if I have a note, but it says how fast she's going.
They joke about it.
Like 265 kilometers an hour or some shit. And she's just taking these turns like a pro on this shitty ass fucked up road. And how do you even know the rest of the road is fine? Did you guys like do a pre-lap of the road to make sure a giant pothole isn't going to jump out and literally just fucking kill you? No, it doesn't matter.
I think this was just like a love story to the director or writer's interests and passions. I think that Motegi is important to their childhood or something like that. Very possible. But it's also, like, again, we're suspending disbelief for this show a lot.
Yeah.
And it does frustrate me.
The girls race, and Ai-chan is talking to himself that the noise and the smell and the vibe is bringing the circuit back to life. And the spirits of the museum are like, fuck yeah. And as Yoko is racing, she can see spirit robots in the stands cheering them on and spirit vehicles racing with them. Yoko is caught up with all the spirits and isn't paying attention to the road and skids off the track into the gravel pit, but is fine and looks back at the circuit. She walks the bike back and says it wouldn't start. And Irie said her car stopped working too, and maybe it was the old gasoline. And Yoko was like, yeah, I was caught up with all the other vehicles on the track. And Irie is like, what you talking about? And Yoko was like, you didn't see all those cars? And she's like, nope. And Yoko said there were robots in the stands. And Irie is like, you must have been daydreaming again. And you've been acting weird since we got here. Yoko was like, nah, man. Hey, Ai-chan, did you see that shit? Were those your friends? But Ai-chan is offline. And Yoko gives him a shoulder pat, and he falls and breaks off his arm. Irie and Yoko try to fix him, but Irie says it looks like he hasn't been operational for a long time, from what it looks like. And the girls are confused. And Yoko was like, no, it wasn't a dream. As a blue light floats out of the bike she was riding, and then all the other vehicles and robots do the same thing. And now the showroom looks like it's in shambles. The girls watch the blue lights fly into the sky, and Yoko is like, maybe humans aren't the only ones with souls. And that's how the episode ends. And now we have the existential question of, are robots humans too, or something? I feel like I know what they were going for, and maybe someone else or Japanese natives might feel something, but its full effectiveness is lost on me, probably.
Well, as someone who randomly enjoys Warhammer 40k, machine souls are real, Greg. And if you don't nurture that shit, it'll just kill you.
The machine will?
I mean, in a multitude of different ways, because it's 40k, but in 40k, like, murder is the everyday. Soylent Green is some pussy ass shit compared to 40k.
Damn.
They just grind up humans into paste and then deliver it to other humans. So
yeah, makes sense.
40k is pretty fucking metal. But in this show, the machines, I think it's cool that they're doing this homage episode. But again, this is just like an episode that, like, I don't think needs to really exist in this show to push the storyline along. I think it's just like the writer being like, this is their love letter to this.
Once we get to episode 11, I just feel like it's like, what the fuck is going on right now?
Yeah.
Episode 11 makes this look fucking normal. I feel like this might be like a cultural thing. I mean, obviously Honda has like a big heritage in racing, and Honda as a company is gigantic in Japan. Maybe there's something to this that we're just not picking up because we aren't Japanese natives or part of like Japanese society and history. I don't know. But we move on to episode 10, and the girls are on the road again, heading to Oarai Port Ferry, and they reach the sea, and it's risen to the point where it's covered the road, and they can see Oarai Marine Tower in the surrounding town submerged in the sea, in their final destination, the ferry terminal.
Very pretty shot, by the way. Like I said before, that I do think a lot of this is like a love letter to Japan, that we keep saying, like, there are just things that we miss out on.
100%. Because, I mean, the fact that they had the Tower of the Sun and the Yokohama Ferris wheel, places that I know of and that I've been to, I know the Motegi circuit exists too. I'm going to assume every place that they go to is real in Japan. It exists. And I think to have these different shots of the famous areas after the apocalypse, like now they're submerged or they're fucking destroyed or like all this other shit. Like, I'm sure a Japanese person watching this would feel like a little bit more, especially if they lived in those certain areas and they get to basically see like a dystopian version of where they're living now, or like what the world
it's
could
probably
be.
Like, it draws at your heartstrings because you're like, damn, like, we really need to take care of this world. But it's not a world that I truly know. And while I live on this planet, where Japan is on this planet, I think. I wish I had a more emotional connection to these places.
But it flashes back to when the town wasn't submerged in water and shows Yoko and her sister boarding the ferry with their motorcycles. It shows different people on the ship talking and the ship's amenities like a bath inside the boat. But then it cuts to Yoko and her sister above deck talking, and they're heading to Hokkaido, which is a motorcycle rider's paradise. In the last part of the scene, Yoko changes from her past self to her present dream state self. Back to the present, the girl stayed inside of a ship for the night, and Yoko wakes up and Sleep asks her big sister that isn't there if they're at Hokkaido yet. She goes above deck and Irie did the laundry, and Yoko asks if they're at Hokkaido yet, and she's like, nah man, what are you talking about? You were dreaming again. Irie said they couldn't make it to the terminal, but Yoko said she wanted to stay a night in the ferry, and the one they stayed on was the same ferry her sister rode in the dream.
How'd she take this picture, by the way?
Either she had a GoPro chesty and had the phone strapped to her chest, or either she's doing that and then Yoko was behind her taking a picture as her sister does the heart thing.
Yeah, that's really smart. The thing I was doing is not smart.
Holding it with your chin?
Yeah, trying to.
Your beard took the picture.
My beard held the phone and then reached over and took the picture. Yep, that's exactly what happened.
She says that people used to take this ferry straight to Hokkaido. And Irie is like, well, why don't we just take the road if it isn't broken? And Yoko's like, yeah, you right. Let's stop at places on the way too. So they travel down the road and stop at the Oya History Museum, where her sister stopped too. And they go to find the stamp. But as they go down the stairs, Irie is like, it's cold as shit. And Yoko is like, damn, it's 4 degrees Celsius, 39 degrees Fahrenheit. And they run out to get their winter jackets.
Very cold.
That's not that cold, 39.
I mean, you're on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast, and that's cold right now.
It was like 0 last week. It was pretty cold.
No, out here, it's like 5 degrees out.
Damn.
In the middle of the quote-unquote winter. Like, we haven't gotten snow in Tahoe or Reno. Like, we got one snowstorm in Reno, and then Tahoe.
Yeah, I did see something about Utah and the resorts there have like 0 snow. And people that bought lift tickets are pissed.
Yeah, I mean, I would be too.
But they go back down, and Irie gives the history of the Oya stone mine and what it was used for in the past, because she read the displays. And they talk about Frank Lloyd Wright. They continue to look for the stamp, but are coming up empty, and make a joke about getting lost and turning into mummies. But Yoko stumbles upon some remains, and is like, well, let's turn around. We might actually get lost. Then it shows a shot of some other remains as they go back up.
I just wanted to touch on this because this is what Greg sent me of the remains that he was talking about earlier.
This is where I was saying, I wonder why Yoko doesn't want Irie to see dead bodies, like the couple that was in episode 3. It is a reoccurring theme. Why doesn't she want her to see the bodies? I guess the other weird thing is, why does Yoko seem unfazed to like human remains? If you're a child that lived in a shelter your entire life and going into a house and seeing some skeletons laying down in a bed, I think you would be pretty freaked out.
My thing is, like, I think when you are a child, unless you're taught to feel certain emotions, like, you just don't like pay attention to those things. While I do think people are inherently good, I don't think that the big sis teacher that they have taught her about, like, they dissect boars and shit in their VR training. They've dissected ducks. There's the separation between seeing another human remain and like herself and self-preservation is just like not there. Like, I just don't think she pays attention to it.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's just my theory on it.
I don't really have any theories on it unless Yoko has seen it before and now she's desensitized. So I guess to go back to the clone theory or either restored memory theory, that she's already used to seeing the remains of the apocalypse and it's nothing new to her.
Yeah.
Even though for us it seems new to her because she just said she got out of the fucking shelter or whatever.
The shelter, yeah.
We also don't know how long they've been out of the shelter. We also don't know how old they are. We don't know a lot of like time. So if Irie's a robot, we can assume she's not aging. if Yoko is some like superhuman clone that doesn't take damage or something, like, does she not age as well? And they've literally been traveling for like 1,000 years or something? I don't know.
I think that the line of Yoko later in the next episode saying like, oh, 1,500 years of history, I'm summoning it. And then the alien's like, we'll come back in 100 years to meet you here. Bye-bye. And then just like fucking pew, 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 and then pieces out. It's like, from what we understand, Yoko will not be there in 100 years at all. Irie will, potentially. We don't know if they've extended the life on cyborgs, but we could assume so. Or androids. But with that line, you would assume that the alien knows enough about human life and has seen enough through the quote-unquote 1,500 years since it's last been here, that it would be able to register anything with humans. Now that it knows how to communicate with them, it would understand like, okay, I know how old these live. I know how to work around the limitations of humanity. Why would it say, we're coming back in 100 years, meet us right here?
Yeah, I have a note on that as well. I thought the same thing. We'll get
I'm glad our two brain cells, Greg, just like collide to make the same thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, individually, our brain cells are so weak that they barely function on their own. But when combined, we can think of some crazy stuff.
We're using brain.
But as they head out, Yoko sees a QR code on the ceiling, and she gets the Oya History Museum stamp. They get back on the bike and continue on and pass Tateiwa, which is a standing boulder. And Yoko is like, hey, doesn't it look like a turtle? And then Irie goes into the history of the rock. And if you look at it from the north side, it looks like Benkei sliced it with his sword, and it's known as Benkei's Sword Split Rock. And for all those out there, Benkei was a warrior monk and is depicted as a man of great strength and loyalty, and is a popular part of Japanese folklore and showcased in many modern pieces of literature. Yoko talks about giants and Benkei, and what if the Oya mines were dug up by giants? And Irie is like, nah, that's dumb. The girls continue on and sing a folk song about Benkei, and then Yoko sees something over the horizon, and she's like, oh shit, a giant! And Irie is like, nah, you dumb. They stop and look at a different rock that's like 24 million years old and talk about how the rocks have seen all of history. But then a deer kicks a pebble, which starts a chain reaction rock slide, which sends a large rock descending onto our girls. As Irie gets ready to blast it, but isn't going to make it in time, a yellow lightning bolt strikes the rock and shatters it. And Yoko is like, oh shit, Benkei saved us. And Irie is like, nah, man, that was just a random lightning bolt. And then I have a note here that says, the deeper we delve into the story, the more I can see how this would be more appealing to native Japanese, since as Americans, we never learned the history and folklore of Japan to relate to what's happening. So I'm sure in some story of Benkei, there's a lightning bolt that saves kids or something. And I'm sure someone that went through the Japanese school system and knew about Benkei would be like, oh, that's sick. Nice fucking throwback to Benkei. But for me, I'm like, this is dumb.
This is Truman Show to me.
Why did this lightning bolt come out of nowhere? And the girls are just like, bah, bah, and then just like continue about their day.
Right. It's definitely strange.
The girls continue and take a long, winding sightseeing route, and Irie gives us more history. And the path has 48 hairpin turns that are named after the 48 characters of the Iroha alphabet. Iroha is an ancient Japanese poem famous for containing each character of the Japanese alphabet.
Yeah, but such a fucking... dude. Irohazaka is one of the greatest levels in Initial D history. I remember back at the arcade in the old Hilton how it was the first Initial D machines we had in Reno. I remember how much I loved Irohazaka. It was so much fun.
You've driven the same road that Irie and Yoko has driven.
Yeah, that's why, like, in my head, I just have, like, Running in the 90s, Pamela, what is another good one?
American Pie. Was that 90s?
What? No, not movies. These are songs from Initial D.
American Pie.
Not a Initial D song.
Oh.
Sorry, Greg.
The 49ers quarterback guy.
Joe Montana?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Greg.
Chicago Bulls.
Scottie Pippen. Dennis Rodman.
Larry Bird.
That's the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, but he's in that generation.
Yeah, true. All right, anyways.
Okay.
Pamela, whoa. Someone needs to fucking, like, please pause this video, go listen to Running in the 90s, and then watch a video of Iro Hazaka, Initial D, and just understand where my brain is right now, okay?
I don't have to because our brains are connected.
Yeah, the two brain cells that are clashing into each other.
Connect with us. Connect with our two brain cells.
Get your brain cell to hit our brain cells,
Mm.
and then they'll make electricity. Did you not play Initial D?
I mean, I've played it, right? But I didn't like play it. You know what I mean?
Okay, you remember the episode where they're on Iro Hazaka, right?
Sure. Toyota 86.
Like season 3.
Tofu.
It's season 3. Such a fucking good series of episodes. Okay, I have to stop. I have to stop us right here. We're taking a side quest for a moment. Okay, so the way that it's set up is that there are like railings on the side so that you can't like fucking smash off and just like fucking die. In the anime, they are driving on Iro Hazaka. They're like tailing each other. But the only way to gain distance on anyone else is to try and shortcut and like pop your fucking car over the end of the road. Like, okay, you can see this in the screenshot, how when it goes to the hairpin turn, like there's a little space. So they try to like cut in front of each other by just past the guard railing, hopping over or before the road. And like, it's so awesome. I loved Initial D so much.
Well, Yoko does her own Initial D by driving the motorcycle down through where it's broken. And Irie does a Demon Lord 2099 and grabs the front of the bike and throws the bike forward. And they successfully traverse the broken road.
Man, I forgot about Demon Lord.
Don't worry, I'm here.
Thank you.
I will always remember everything that we watch.
Thank you.
That is my legacy. They reach their destination of the Kagon Falls, and they can hear the falls, and there is an observation deck 100 meters away where they can see it. They get to the tourist area, and there is an elevator that can take them, but it isn't working, so they decide to try and get there on foot. And there's an emergency route used for when the elevator was out of order, but nature has grown on the path. Yoko hears the waterfall and rushes ahead, and Irie is like, wait, that's dangerous! And Yoko hits some loose rocks, and they slide down the side of the path, but find some stairs, and Yoko rushes forward again, and they reach an area where they can see the waterfall, and there's a rainbow. Yoko starts tearing up, and it's like, this waterfall has been here for thousands of years. That's crazy. And that is how episode 10 ends. And I have a note that says something we haven't talked about is the ending. And the first part of every ending is a different little scene from the location they were at. And sometimes it's Yoko's sister, but some of them have past older Yoko in them. But when she faces the camera, something always covers her face. So I did bring this up before.
Yeah, because I had brought it up. I'm like, oh, that's Big Sister. And you're like, no, that's not Big Sis.
Yeah.
I do like the intros and outros of this show. It's very lighthearted. It's very slice of life songs. The tone of the show is so light. There's not much seriousness of the show, in my opinion. It's just like a learning experience. It does, like, after like 15, 20 seconds of them showing like history of like Yoko or Big Sister, it goes back to the normal outro.
Yeah. So we move to episode 11. Where the girls are now at Lake Chuzenji. And Yoko is trying her hand at fishing again, and this time she catches a nice salmon as Irie is starting the campfire.
I think that's a really cool name, by the way.
Irie looks into the sky, and there's a glimmer, and she says she hears a high-pitched sound. And she listens more intently as Yoko catches a rainbow trout, and then Irie says the sound disappeared. The girls are on the road again and talk about how the past locations were sick, and they arrive at the Nikko Toshogu Shrine, and there's a carving of the three monkeys: see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. But I guess there's a Japanese play on words here where hear no evil sounds like dress yourself up in some IT-aesthetics.com, where the three monkeys, Yoko and Irie, save 10% off of their order by using promo code TABSY10 at checkout. Or they use TABSY5 at checkout for a stacking $5 off coupon, where they got shirts like this one I'm wearing now.
Not the one I'm wearing. This sweater's cool, but it's not as cool as IT Aesthetics clothing. Look at Greg's spinal column. Look at his broad shoulders. Look at him flex for you. Greg, you're supposed to still be standing while I narrate how burly you are.
No, I'm just going to embarrass myself if I do that.
Fucking shredded, Greg.
I don't think the light actually works. Let me see if I can get proper.
Fucking beef him, Greg. Dude, give me the Dude, Jesus Christ, Greg. That guy's beefcake. Greg's a fucking meat castle, dude.
No, nothing compared to Mitsuba. He's a baddie.
No, you're Mitsubaing, dude. You're totally Mitsubaing all over my screen.
I forgot my segue. Anyway, visit it-aesthetics.com to get yourself a shirt and save 10% off or stacking $5 off of your order.
I just want to say, somewhere, someone was like, ooh, damn, to Greg's muscles. And it was me.
Yep. All right. Anyway. But no, I guess there is a Japanese play on words where Hear No Evil does sound like dress yourself up. And Yoko puts a cute outfit on Irie. Yoko also finds the stamp for this location as well. They get back on the bike, but Irie is staring off in the distance and she says she wants to visit a place. And Yoko is like, oh shit, let's go. But Irie says she doesn't really know where it is, but points and says it's over there. And there's something that she needs to see. She said she heard something yesterday and needs to check it out. And Yoko is like, good enough for me. And they hop on the bike, which is at a stout 79% battery, and they're off. Montage of them driving to wherever they're going, and they make a stop at a place that has an intersection of 3 prefectures, Saitama, Gunma, and Tochigi. And her sister posted about it on Touringgram. Fun fact, I lived in Saitama for a little bit, but didn't go to any of these locations in this episode.
How long did you live in Japan for?
Maximum visa time is 3 months.
Hell yeah. Saitama as... How many people... I mean, I can look this up.
I mean, Saitama Prefecture is pretty big. I was more specifically in Urawa, which is in Saitama. Home of the Urawa Reds soccer team. Go Reds.
Hell yeah.
Irie hears the sound again, and Yoko is like, I don't hear shit. And Irie says it's ultrasound and really high pitched, so Yoko might not be able to hear it. And we see the shimmer in the sky.
Damn. How far away from Tokyo were you?
I don't think that far. I mean, Saitama is still pretty close, maybe like an hour.
Crazy close.
That was like the first, I think that was my first trip to Japan, was the 3 month. And I lived in Saitama for like 2 months of it, I think. The first month I was in Ikebukuro, which is basically like a heart of Tokyo in that area.
So cool.
On the JR
cool.
line, the one that goes between all of the famous stations.
So cool.
Lame as fuck.
Greg's so much cooler than the rest of us, I will say.
Not true.
Did you see his muscles? Chat, did you see his muscles? Did you look at his muscles?
No one did because the camera got cut off, so it's probably for the best.
No, I saw the muscles.
Everyone couldn't see how limp they were, like something else that is in my pants.
Anyways.
Okay, so she says it's really high pitched, so Yoko might not be able to hear it. And we see the shimmer in the sky, but then it darts off, and Irie says the sound stopped. More montage of them traveling, and they reach the Yoshimi 100 Caves site. And I have a note here that says, this reminds me of Junji Ito's The Enigma of Amigata Fault. And that's the one where there's a bunch of people-shaped holes in the side of the mountain, and then people go up to it and they're like, this hole was made for me, and then they walk into it. And basically the story is like, where do these holes go? And then they go to the other side of the mountain, and basically like the human-shaped hole starts as a human-shaped hole, but at the very end it's shaped as some like weird thing, and all these people are popping out as fucking mangled humans. You know what I'm talking about?
Like Junji Ito, I can't. Like Junji Ito truly knows what my fears are and then draws them and is like, hey, do you want to stay up forever and never sleep again? Read my works. And I'm like, no, no,
Have you seen it?
no.
You
You've
should.
talked about it when we talked about
Yeah, you should look it up.
Spiral one. Uzumaki, fuck.
But the girls explore, and Yoko is like, hey, look, these look like rooms. And Irie says there's luminous moss in them, and the cells reflect light, which makes the moss look like it's glowing. They find one that looks like they can walk in, and Yoko is like, damn, I wonder why they dug these holes. Hopefully it isn't a giant bug's nest. And Irie scares her, but then says the walls in the back collapsed, so it's dangerous. They continue exploring, and Irie gives the history lesson on the Yoshimi 100 Caves tunnel tombs. And they are graves, but were also used as a munitions factory during the Pacific War. And before they collapsed, they were used in TV and movies. And she does the Kamen Rider pose, so I assume an episode of Kamen Rider was filmed there.
Okay, first of all, just so you're aware, there was a minor rabbit hole. That's why my face was like that for so long, was me looking at different stills from the Enigma at, what was the fault? Sorry?
Amigata Fault.
Yeah. Dude, it's like, Junji Ito is like, you body horror and like different ultra fears all wrapped up in one. Uzumaki is awful in its like blood curdling weirdness.
I think Uzumaki is probably the most tame of his works. I feel like the Fault one, well, the Fault one, I think it was more kind of like creepy than anything. There's just like a couple creepy things that happen.
Dude.
The rest of it's just kind of
like,
silly.
Greg, if you're laughing at it, I'll laugh at it too. No, but like the claustrophobia of something so like daunting would fuck me up.
The only part of Uzumaki I really felt like weird about was kind of near the end where everyone was like turning into snails and those dudes were like eating snails face first as they climbed into their shells and the snail couldn't escape. You know what I mean? The snail human.
Yeah.
And then they just ate them face to butt. The Enigma Fault one, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was weird. I'm like, why are all these people like, entering these human shaped holes? And then, yeah, they have the plot twist at the end where it's just like, you just get fucked up. But then that's it. Like that's the story. You just
they're not eating people.
No, you just kind of get like, you turn into a wacky, wavy, inflatable, arm flailing tube man. Yeah. And then that's the end of the story.
But they're also like walking in that thing for like a long time.
They're not walking in it.
Distort.
They're just sliding, right? So like they go into it and then it's almost just gravity is slowly elongating them and not dying.
Oh, dude. Nah. Yeah,
it's not that bad.
That is one of my greatest fears.
Falling into a hole shaped exactly like your body and then getting elongated.
Yeah, and well, just like anything claustrophobic and all dark like that. No, I'm good.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
I'm so good.
But they explore a bit and decide to spend the night. And in the scene after them talking about which one of them were scared, there's a little distortion in the sky at the top left of the frame. And I'm glad you have a screenshot.
It's fucking Uzumaki! It's the spiral!
Yeah, this is the Junji Ito episode, dude.
Sick.
It's nighttime now, and the girls are sleeping, but Irie starts hearing the sound and tries to wake up Yoko. But she's fast asleep, so she goes exploring all by herself. She makes it out to the main road, and there's a little black cat. But then an abandoned car's car alarm starts going off and the traffic lights light up. Then the car drives itself off the bridge and into the water. Irie is like, damn, maybe I'll go back and get Yoko. But then an extraterrestrial light appears above Irie as if it's going to tractor beam her up, but then disappears. And we see the distortion in the sky again, and then a pure black sphere appears behind Irie.
We're about to get gantzed so hard.
Irie is like, damn, what's this? Yoko would totally touch it. Oh well, I'll just go back. But then the little black cat jumps inside of it, and the sphere moves towards Irie, and she starts running, calling for Yoko. But it engulfs her before she can get to her. The cat and Irie are now floating in space above Earth, and Irie sees a broken satellite and then realizes they're inside something that has air. And then some shooting star looking shit flies by her and she hears the noise again. The noise tells Irie something and she converses with it. And now It's taking her on a galactic journey of space and time, and it shows her a faraway planet and then shows her Earth from 1500 years ago.
Okay, so the faraway planet, if you look on it, you can see it's either rivers or some roadways. I think the other planet, the second one, is the one that they were like, this is where we're from, the aliens.
I didn't really know what to think about it. So I'd like
You're
that.
just like, am I doing peyote right now? Like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah, we'll get to that note here in a second.
Yeah, all right. The peyote note.
It's morning now, and Irie appears out of a different hole with the cat. And Yoko is like, what the fuck? You weren't there when I woke up, so I looked for you. And Irie was like, I was in space. And Yoko was like, nah, man, you joshing and probably dreaming. And Irie is like, nah, I'm not you.
Yeah, she doesn't have dreams.
Irie says she went into a hole and talked to an alien. And she said it came into her head, but it wasn't a voice. But she could clearly understand it. She said the alien said they first came to Earth 1500 years ago and told her what they did while they were here. They said they built the 100 caves along with the humans, and back then the humans were primitive and couldn't talk to them, so telling them they were from a different planet was lost on them. The aliens said they would wait for humans to become more civilized and figured 1500 years was enough time, but they said by that time civilization was still evolving and that Yoko and Irie were a possibility for the future.
This is where it's weird to me. And I know that you're wanting to get into it a little bit. So should I wait?
Yeah, I do have a theory on this.
Go ahead, read the notes and then we go.
Yoko was like, man, I want to go to outer space. So she tries going in different holes, and Irie is like, nah, man, I was summoned. Yoko is like, check out this sick e-bike and my knowledge of history, aliens, and starts talking about what happened in the past 1500 years ago. Yoko rides her bike up the caves and reaches the top, and then it has some atmospheric shots, and there's like a giant boar walking on a road, but then the aliens appear again in a UFO and then warp away. And then Irie says, the aliens said, quote, let's meet up again right here in 100 years. And that is how the episode ends. And my note here says, I have no idea what the fuck just happened. Maybe more Japanese cultural folklore shit that I don't understand.
So my theory on this is that this is like the 10th time the aliens have come here. Because civilization at this point, it's like 1500 years past our demise. It looks like. Because like the overgrowth and stuff like that, like it feels like it's just, there's not enough time that's passed. And I think that the aliens have potentially been in communication with humans a lot earlier when they said that we came here and helped build these things. I think that the aliens can finally communicate with Yoko and Irie, and like the aliens are like, all right, we'll be back. Fix this shit. See you later. And then just peace out.
I'm going to save my theory for the end where I have my bulk amount of theories that
Okay.
I want to run through.
Or let's rip it.
Here we go. Episode 12, the finale of touring after the apocalypse. It is night, and the girls are camping as Yoko is staring into the campfire like Gen from Solo Camping. And Yoko says tomorrow she plans on going down the Venus Line, which is one of Japan's most prominent winding roads. Flashback to the past, and past Yoko and her sister are at the Mitsume Tea House Observatory, and they can see Mount Fuji, and the girls continue on their bikes. Yoko wakes up, and it's all foggy, but she snaps a picture of a wild goat with her bike, and she says she got a shot of two Seros together. I have a note here that on that screen, when she said that, it has some Japanese. The Japanese says kamoshika, which equals Sero. So that's what it says actually on the thing. It says the first word equals second word. So I guess another name for a wild goat in Japanese is Sero.
Okay.
The girls continue on the bike, but it's still super foggy and the road is in rough shape. And Irie says, in the winter, this road was closed, and it has a sign saying the conditions at which the road would be closed. Irie says maybe they should turn back, but Yoko's like, nah, keep going. Maybe it'll get sunny. But then they see a sign in the road that says road closed, and it says Venus Line, landslide up ahead. And Irie is like, yeah, maybe we don't go on this road. They decide to take a break and they find the Mitsumine Tea House Observatory. And Irie finds a pamphlet of the Venus line saying it takes 30 minutes to get to the top and you can enjoy a 360-degree panoramic view and you can see Mount Fuji. Yoko's like, damn, now I really want to go. And Irie is like, we probably can't see shit. So they bet on a week's worth of laundry if they can see Mount Fuji or not once they get to the top. They walk up to the peak of Mount Mitsumine, elevation 1,887 meters, but it's still foggy. But Yoko is like, look, the sun, and then turns around and sees an optical illusion shadow of herself that she thinks is a real person and runs over to it, but Irie stops her just before she falls off the ridge.
I wanted the part of the clouds to part, and it's just 17 dead Yoko bodies. And then Yoko's like, oh, let's not look down there, because they've been here before, and every single time she's just a fucking idiot. Like, I don't understand. Like, I get... It's also weird to me in this show how naive she is to a certain extent, but that's fine. What weirds me out is she meets different things. Like the robots, she meets Schwartzon. She's always ready to go meet these things, but she's always understanding of space and distance. In what world is she just like, oh, look at that! That's Shadow! I'm gonna go high-five it! And jump off the fucking cliff.
Yeah, probably if the clouds parted and down at the bottom, it would be clone number Y19 or something like that.
Yeah.
But Irie says it's a Brocken Spectre, which is a rare phenomenon when a shadow is reflected into the fog, and she explains the science behind it, which I didn't write down. The wind blows and dispels the fog, and now the girls can see the view and they can see Mount Fuji, and they reminisce that that's where they started. And now they're here from the bottom.
Beautiful, beautiful screenshot, by the way. I think it's very pretty.
It is.
Early Made in Abyss. You know what I mean?
Damn. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
It flashes back to them in the shelter and Yoko going through different places on her phone. And she's like, man, there's all these cool places in the world, and plays a video. And it looks like past Yoko is in it. The girls are in the shelter and are brushing their teeth. And Yoko uses the restroom and has a blood sample taken, and the computer changes her food menu because she had low protein. And then this is where I have the note that says the animation in this scene is using the real life background shot with the anime overlay. So this whole time while they're in the shelter, and as they're
you're right.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice.
Yep. So this is that screenshot right there. That's like a real shot, but then they have the animation over it as they're walking around in this real life shot. Yoko gives her protein cup to Irie and they eat. And Yoko says it's weird that the food here is fucking shit compared to a cup of Gamer Sups where Yoko and Irie save 10% off of. They're great tasting Gamer Sups, not like the fucking shit they're eating now, using promo code DJ Montague at checkout. And
It's not my shirt, but you can get this shirt.
And Irie and Yoko got that shirt at gamersups.gg, where they also got limited edition flavors like low protein cup and
clone juice.
Yeah, sure. And save 10% off using promo code DJ Montague at checkout for 10% off of their entire order.
What I'm trying to think. Alien orb juice.
Yeah, fucking Enigma fault spaghettied human juice.
Damn. No, I'm good. The flavors are supposed to be tasty, Greg, not drive you insane.
Well, I mean, how do you know it's not tasty? Maybe it's so tasty you go insane, and then you become a spaghetti human.
Damn. All right, you're onto something.
But no, well, she does say the food is shit compared to the pictures of food on Turinggram.
Yeah, but like, she doesn't know.
Well, she's eating with her eyes, so she doesn't know if the food is actually good. She's just comparing what the food looks like in the pictures to the food that they're eating.
Yeah, sure.
Which is just yogurt cups, I guess.
Well, they've got like meat. I don't think I took pictures of the food.
the girls go to class and Yoko's sister is on the screen and she's like, Yoko, you stayed up late, but Irie, you're a model student. And Yoko is like, why we gotta study? None of this helps us. And her sister says it's good to have an orderly life and they can't go outside right now. And then I have another note here that says during the whole time when they're getting ready in the bathroom and then they're walking down the hallways, they have these windows, but I don't think those windows are real. I think they're in the bunker and it's just kind of showing pictures of outside.
And this is what like frustrates me about casinos. They've got like gigantic videos on the walls of like different locations, really cinematically beautiful areas, Italy, France, Britain, fucking different places in America with like rolling hills. They've got fucking videos of China. Like, it's just all these really beautiful areas in the casino because you're fucking spending your money so that somebody else can go there.
For those that don't know, like casinos are designed to try to prevent you from telling what time it is. So you spend more time in the casino. So like in these casinos, like all of the doors will be fully tinted up. The lights are always like super bright and stuff. The decor, the floor, everything is designed for when you sit down, you lose track of time. And you lose track of basically how much money you're spending. So they're basically socially engineering you to stay longer in the casino so you spend more money.
Yes. This is how it is now. Back in the day, you could go look at old pictures. I even remember going to casinos back in the day, and they were very dark and dingy, and it was like, oh, you're doing your villain shit over here, dude.
Yeah, everyone's smoking. Like, yeah, it's like...
Yeah, go in the corner and go play poker, you degenerate. It was like that.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, look at how beautiful it is in here. Come spend time in here. It's perfect temperature. You're never going to feel too hot or too cold. You're always going to feel perfect. We've got these free drinks. Everybody's just hanging out. As long as you're gambling, you have whatever you want.
There are no clocks. There's nothing to tell the time. Even in like the sports book area with the horse racing shit and stuff.
They'll show stuff in the sports books usually is to say like how long until the next thing comes on. So it'll be like, oh, Lakers and so in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And the sports book has like, it's super cool in the idea of what it is because it's like hundreds of TVs with all different sports on them, and you can watch whatever you want from like fucking butt chugging contests in Germany to ping pong competitions in China. Casinos are so crazy to me. And also because like Kalshi and like all those fucking prediction markets are getting popular.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, if you're under the age of 21, you're not allowed to be on the floor unsupervised. So you would always have to go like on the outskirts of it to walk to the arcade, which is what we did.
Yeah.
But I remember going to the Atlantis. I entered from the Skybridge area. And I remember going down the escalator. And then I saw some lady. She was sitting at like the slots or whatever. And she literally had like 6 players cards in like the entire row. And she was just going down and playing all 6 machines at once. And I remember looking at it. I'm like, that's weird. And then I think we went to the arcade. We played DDR. We probably ate at like the food court or whatever. And we hung out there for, I don't know, maybe like 6 hours, just kind of chilling. And then it's like, all right, time to leave. We get up and we leave. And as we're passing, going back to the Skybridge, that same lady was still there. And she was still attached by her like 6 players cards, still hitting like all of the buttons. She like had herself positioned in a way for minimum movement so she could hit the buttons to gamble as fast as possible.
Beat Mania, a 2DX Red.
And it just felt really bad. Like when I saw that, I just remembered that was almost a turning point in my mind of like, I always knew like hardcore addicted gambling was bad, but after seeing that, it really solidified it in my mind that like, dude, this is crazy.
It could consume you.
That this is this lady's life. This is what she does.
This is what like frustrates me is like in this era, as a sanctioned company, you couldn't use a foreign currency to force people to like, or be able to let people gamble online. Gambling was like, there were certain places in America that you could do it. Whether it be the Native American casinos, or whether it be Vegas, whether it be Reno, there were specific areas that you could go gamble, but you had to be very aware and you had to go there. nowadays, like FanDuel and like all these fucking websites like Kalshi and like these prediction markets, you could just gamble fucking right now. You can gamble right fucking now.
All of these apps now that are offering parlays and everything like that. The idea for you as a user, you're just like, oh man, if I put $5 down on this fucking wild ass parlay and I hit it, I can turn it into like 10K. Like, that's crazy. I might as well try because it's just $5, right?
Right.
But the chances of you hitting that parlay is basically like 0.001.
I mean, more than that. I mean, if they're willing to give you $17,000 for a $5 bet, it is in the millions of chances that these things happen.
Yeah, but
it's also like they're trying to prey on human nature where you are involved. You make the choices and you feel like you could, oh my God, I know these teams. I know this game. I know, like, I am clairvoyant. I have watched all these sports. I know the perfect outcome. I know what's going to happen.
they're just conditioning you to gamble more, and then it's okay to spend $5. Oh, and then spend $5 more, and then spend $5
Yes.
more. The fact that you can, and like with the ad, like parlays have always existed, but I feel like now with the convenience and the accessibility of parlays now, where you can just do it live during, like, if you would normally have to go to the sport book or have to go to the casino to gamble, and you can make your parlay there as you're sitting there eating fucking an 8-stack of wings or something. But now you can do it from the comfort of your own home, where you can just lose money betting on shit that you're never going to fucking win. And
You could literally make a bet within 30 seconds of this conversation right now and go about your life and have just given them $5. It's that mentality. It's like, oh, we'll hold this for you. Good luck.
But anyway, Yoko's sister says they're trying to think of ways they can better life in the safety of the shelter. And she says they'll cancel math for first period and watch a movie instead. The girls talk about the T-Rex that was in the movie and then go downstairs to second period, which is practical training, farming, and then third period is butchering. But it's revealed it was all VR training and not real. And fourth period is PE, and they play soccer. And then I have 2 notes here. I wonder if the movie was Jurassic Park. And the second note is now we can see how they had survival skills to live while traveling, especially the duck butchering part in episode 8. It is kind of weird that they just randomly started inserting fucking how-to videos starting at like episode 6. And I guess we can kind of see why they're doing it now, to like recreate the training that they had in the shelter.
Wish they would have just did this instead.
I think if they did it at the very beginning of the series and every episode had a training video, it would make a little bit more sense. But you only started doing it like halfway through the series. So it kind of felt a little bit jarring to see this new element pop up in the series and just be like, why the fuck is this here?
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's also like if they had gone and done flashbacks of them in the shelter,
oh, that would have
throughout
been
the
better.
show, I think it would have been sick. Like, I
Yeah.
think it would have been really cool to watch them experience life in the shelter and learn and then apply it to their real world.
But it cuts back to the present, and Yoko says she never thought those classes would come in handy, but now she's glad they took them, and it was to prepare them for going outside. Flashes back again to the shelter, and her sister says they can go outside, and it's been deemed safe, and Yoko is super happy. They pack up the Sero and open the shelter door, and her sister says once they leave, she can't help them anymore. And Yoko's like, I got this shit. And her sister is like, Irie, I'm counting on you. And again, this kind of goes to the idea that maybe they didn't leave the shelter because they got help twice from her sister.
So I also think that the big sister potentially transferred some sort of consciousness abroad, because we know that the world still has satellites. And I think that what the big sister was trying to do before letting them out of the shelter is make sure that she could upload her consciousness or whatever AI to a cloud of sorts and be able to watch over them while they're on Earth. I think that the big sister was the lightning bolt. I think that the big sister was helping control the water spouts so they didn't kill Yoko and Irie. And I think that the big sister is kind of guiding them with the different experiences that we see, not necessarily the alien coming together. I think the alien is just like a throwaway like line, but I think that she is watching over them right now.
Yeah, possibly maybe clone Yoko, and maybe her sister is actually Irie, and she put part of her consciousness in Irie so they could travel together forever, which is what they said to each other in that one flashback, which
Yes.
is what Irie and Yoko
Yeah.
said to each other in another episode.
Mm.
Again, more
Yeah.
speculation, but
Nothing is
Yeah.
confirmed. Literally nothing.
it has a shot of a screen of Yoko and Irie in another room with a picture on the desk of Yoko and her sister, and she says that they can travel together forever and to go as far as they can for us. The girls leave the shelter and the shelter starts to power itself down, and it has a montage of the girls living in the shelter. Then I have a note here that says, so I think it's insinuated that no one else has really been alive, including Yoko's sister. And all of their time in the shelter has probably been some sort of AI of Yoko's sister with the classes and that sort of thing. Because when they had that scene of like the office with the picture of Yoko and her sister on the desk or whatever, like no one was in that room, but you can see the screen like power off or whatever. So I think it was just assumed that like no one is actually alive, and they kind of created this environment for these two girls to live via AI. And we know that the AI exists because we saw the fucking AI DJ, we saw the other fucking Schwarchan and like what the capabilities of robots are and transfer of consciousness. So we see that they had all of this technology before Yoko and Irie even started their journey. The girls reach the surface and exit the Yamabiko Inn and see the real world for the first time. Back to the present, the girls are just laying on the hill, reminiscing, and Yoko says now she wants to see the world for how it is right now, not the world she knew of while she was in the shelter. Yoko is like, let's keep traveling. And Irie is like, where should we go? And Yoko is like, wait, since when have we been at the shelter? And Irie says, we've always been there. And then I said, that's kind of a weird interaction. Irie makes it sound like they're still in the shelter and they never left, but maybe she meant we've always been in the shelter until now. Or maybe Yoko remembers not being in the shelter, but then Irie corrects her. And then this was the part where like I listened to the Japanese. I like turned subtitles off and I'm like, that was really weird. Is it just translated poorly or what? But how Irie said it is how the translation sounds. So I'm like, that's a really fucking weird ass line to say at the very end of the fucking finale that we're at to, I assume, make us, if all the other shit didn't trigger us thinking what the fuck is happening, this right here is kind of like a, what the fuck is going on? And then the last note here is the girls continue the next part of their journey in montage of them driving around, and their next destination is wherever they want. And then that is the conclusion of Touring After the Apocalypse. Now, I'll let you go first because I have like 5 theories here that I want to just fucking go down the list.
Okay. So my theory, obviously, we've talked about throughout this whole time, is that they're clones, or at least Yoko is a clone of herself from her sister's point of view. That's probably why she has no like self-preservation. She's all just whimsy and like travel thought process. Is that how do you, I don't know. It's probably what her sister saw as her golden era of herself and all the best qualities that she had to help her survive. And then the AI of her sister that she created of herself, or her consciousness or whatever it is uploaded to space and now watches over the Earth to a certain extent, or at least watches over Irie and Yoko, and she can kind of beam down help whenever they really run into some shit. I think they're going to travel across Japan, and then the sister's going to fucking part the sea like goddamn Moses and fucking let them go across China or some shit. I don't know. I literally don't know where the show goes or where it's supposed to go. I also think that this is a way to like connect with people and say like, take care of Earth, because this is what can happen. Like, start taking care of Earth now, because there's not much time left. Continue, Greg.
Okay, here we go. I did have here where I thought maybe this could possibly be an analogy for like kids growing up and they're sheltered and then follow the lead set out by the adults, aka the Turinggram Yoko's sister had, and then break out onto their own after that, and they make their own choices. I also think that Yoko is some sort of new cyborg or invulnerable human clone, and when Yoko's sister said her and Irie can travel forever, they really mean forever because neither of them can die. I'm going to lean more towards new cyborg, maybe a newer model than Irie because they both eat and breathe and bathe and act human. And maybe that whole scene at the Motegi circuit with the racing and all the robots in the stands and Yoko talking about souls is more of a question to Yoko and Irie that even though they are robots, do they have souls because they were so human? More to the cyborg, to the cyborg theory. Yeah. We saw Schwarchan in episode 2 and know that your consciousness can be moved to a cyborg body. And Irie says he was quote unquote human. And Yoko did mention to him that they could fix him up at his sister's place, insinuating that Yoko's sister was like a cyborg scientist specializing in that procedure. And more evidence to that is the advanced technology of the shelter that Yoko and Irie were in, and also the facility they went to with the rocket for their checkup. More evidence to the cyborg theory is the aliens and them saying that Irie and Yoko were a possible outcome and to meet back in 100 years, and the aliens knowing that they'll probably both be alive in 100 years because they're both robots, and their whole journey and learning will be shared with the aliens, and that's how they restore humanity or something, which supports my original theory of Yoko being the one that rebuilds the world. There are a lot of unanswered questions like what happens to the world. Why are Yoko and Irie the only ones left? Did humans make it off the planet and colonize? Why does Yoko have those vivid dreams where she relives the past? And I think this is what they were going for the show, but maybe it's just a little too abstract for me. And then I had a last theory where maybe Yoko is like the fucking Giver, the book, where all of the memories of fucking people are hers to hold as like the master record holder. And then she can fucking transfer memories back to humans or some bullshit. But yeah, those are my theories. I think there definitely is something to either the clone or the cyborg theory and how she can't take damage. I mean, well, she can take damage, but she just regenerates it back. Maybe it is like a Tom Cruise. What was that movie? The Day After Tomorrow? Or the one where he like has to repeat or whatever? Edge of Tomorrow. So maybe when Yoko did prick her finger repairing the tire, she got tetanus and just fucking died. But then, you know, she gets to replay where she last was at and just continues like living, thinking she didn't die. I'm still convinced she ran off that fucking cliff at that shadow and she's dead at the bottom of the fucking mountain.
Super dead at the bottom.
Same with like when they got hit by the wave, they got lost in the fucking mines. I feel like there's just a lot of shit and they don't explain any of it.
Just that picture's all Yoko's, the one you sent me. It's just all Yoko's like lead up. And they're like, maybe we go over here. I think the most probable theory is the one that you said, is the clones, the cyborgs, they're so advanced at this point because we don't really see her take damage that isn't immediately healed and fixed. I think that's largely due to the tests they've been running on her before she leaves the shelter. If she was a normal human, she would never be able to leave the shelter. It doesn't matter how strong Irie is. There is something that would happen that would kill her and destroy her.
Especially with how naive she is. And that's what I mean. Like, this show isn't about survival and them surviving the apocalypse and like touring on the side. It's just they are having an adventure that nothing can go wrong. And they're just kind of free to do like whatever they want. The whole tanker explosion, the rats, like her crashing on the motorcycle going like 300 kilometers an hour. You have zero experience, or okay, I shouldn't say that. Probably her past memories of knowing how to ride a MotoGP motorcycle effectively at those speeds. It's like
she was doing the knee turns like on her first go. It's very strange, but I do think that it's either not the first time or the memories implanted in this version of Yoko. It was Y21, correct? When she walked into the door? That's definitely Yoko 21.
It was Y21A46, I think. So, I mean, different revisions. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, this is the anime, people. there is no closure. It doesn't tell you what happens. You don't know anything. It's just you can speculate and have fun with the idea of your theories on how these kids are alive and surviving and what happened to the world. It's funny enough, they never even said anything about the apocalypse. Like there was no hint on why the earth is fucked up that I can remember. I'm trying to remember right now.
I don't think so either. Like I don't. They talk about what happens afterward. They kind of hint that like a global war happens.
I don't know.
In the Schwartz.
Oh yeah, more. I mean, even in the very first episode with the tank that they had. So I guess you can assume that maybe there was like a war because there's tanks and warships and people are deployed, but they don't ever really go into it at all.
They don't solidify what happened,
and that's why I think like Apocalypse Hotel did it better, because they actually gave us like some rock to hold on to. We know that there was like a disease going around that only affected humans and primates. And humans left successfully. So we do know that as well. And they were just waiting for the Earth to run its course of whatever this human killing virus is. And then they would come back. And they did to an extent, right? After like a billion generations of living on spaceships, they finally did come back. And then the twist at the end is like, well, they can't, because now that the Earth ran its course, humans are no longer compatible with the atmosphere anyway, without like a spacesuit and shit.
Right. And this is what I feel like with this as well. Like I said earlier, like with the amount of oxygen dense like atmosphere to make these gigantic boars and turtles and stuff like that, you would have the availability of dinosaurs because of how large they could possibly be. Like chickens could be T-Rexes again, and that'd be super sick. But I don't think humanity would be able to survive on Earth again. And I think that's what also the aliens could possibly be, is like humans kind of interacting with what is left on Earth, what probes they left behind. This show is an homage to a lot of what Japan is, history lessons. It is a pretty show to watch, but I feel like a lot of it becomes lost because I'm just not able to hold on to something. Like, I like the idea of talking with you, Greg, and like thinking about the finer details of the show, but like I didn't enjoy watching the show.
By the end of the show, I wasn't happy. But now as we're going through it,
I wasn't even engaged. Like the last episode, I was just like, oh, fuck, dude, come on. I like it, but like, why'd you wait so long? There's no payoff.
Yeah.
Here. There's no wrap up. And I don't need to have everything wrapped in a pretty little bow for me to be enjoying of the show. I think that the pacing was off. And this is obviously going to segue into our grades of this. But I do think the pacing was off. I think the animation was absolutely gorgeous. I think a lot of the stills of Japan, like obviously it's oversaturated and it's meant to look like it's the greenest grass of all time. But it is a beautiful, like you could look at the screenshot and be like, man, that would be a really cool road to travel on. It does some things well, but our characters are just so abstract to me that it doesn't ground them either. I don't know really what they could do to ground those characters either. I think that the story that the director wanted to tell got told, and that was it. And exactly what they wanted to do was here.
Yeah. Let's wrap it up here. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'm just going to say I gave it a 5.
I gave it a 6.
Just because, the animation, it saved the show for me. But, like, the character development is, like, non-existent to me, other than you get more of their backstory. It's not like Yoko or Irie grow, so to speak, ever really. She still is naive as she was in the first episode. Irie is still, like, minorly defensive, but, like, still kind of aloof and spacey. And so it's like, okay, that just still exists. And we don't really get a whole lot of answers that we didn't even have in the first episode.
Yep.
So
I think it was interesting. I don't think I could recommend it to anyone. I guess maybe unless you are super up to date with Japanese culture, folklore, you've lived in Japan, you've been to some of these cities, maybe you'll get a little bit more out of it than we did. But unfortunately, it's like the animation saved the show. In terms of character development, they did slightly develop the characters a little bit, but more in like a breadcrumb insinuation style, not like true growth of Irie and Yoko. The story, I guess, I probably gave this higher than I should have given it, actually, the more I think about it. It should probably, for me, be more of a 5 or a 4, because the story, I feel like, is almost like non-existent. It's just slice of life girls driving.
Yeah, I don't think it's meant to.
Yeah, I mean, again, they have breadcrumbs, so you can try to figure it out. But as I said before, it's a little bit too abstract, and there isn't enough to really build off of it, in my opinion. Yeah, it's not the best anime I've seen. It was all right.
It existed. Of our shows in this season, I think this is the weakest one.
I agree.
Sonda's next, because like I'm losing interest in Sonda. I think Gachi Akuta is like my version of what I want a shonen to be, so I enjoy it, and that's higher up there. And then I think Tojima Wants to Be a Common Rider is so fucking good. Like, I'm so happy we watched it. So happy.
Yeah, that sums up my feelings too.
Greg, we're becoming the same. Those brain cells are really working overtime trying to connect with each other.
I mean, they're just going to become one.
And then what are we going to do? We're not going to be able to think. The brain cells won't like slap together.
Slap them together.
I'm not going to do this on stream, but I did this for the brain cells slapping together, which for all of our people at home is called tribbing. But anyway,
I thought it was docking.
The space docking is a different thing, but you know.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Anime Book Club podcast, reviewing Touring After the Apocalypse. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts, you will find us. Check us out on the Instagram at the Anime Book Club podcast and on the internet at theanimebookclub.com. Check out IT-Aesthetics for sweet anime streetwear for your everyday needs, and use TabC10 at checkout for 10% off of your order, or TabC5 for a stacking coupon that you can use on any other deals. Also, check out gamersupps.gg and use promo code DJ Montague for 10% off of your entire order of food, beverages, mouse pads, or apparel.
Still haven't put that sick-ass mouse pad on this computer. I'm really sad about it.
Well, today might be the day.
Greg, you think I should get a motorcycle?
I want a motorcycle. I'm fully endorsed and ready to go.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, yo, those are dangerous.
The chances of someone else hurting you is higher than you hurting yourself.
Right. Can't wait to get a motorcycle. Anyways, I think that's my midlife crisis at 40 years old, is that I'm going to get a motorcycle this summer. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's my stupid purchase of my adult.
No, I don't think it's stupid. I think motorcycles are cool, and I'm sad that the world that we live in doesn't promote motorcycle awareness and motorcycle safety. I feel like how we are doing driver's tests and that sort of thing is inefficient. I don't think it is really for the benefit of people that use the road. And I wish we had a little bit stronger training on operating 3,000-pound killing machines that a 16-year-old can drive, but they also cannot buy a cigarette or drink alcohol.
The world is a depressing place. I just want to buy a motorcycle and drive it into the sun so I can get 6 feet under the sun. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, could they build the galactic elevator so I could just shoot myself on my sweet motorcycle into the sun? So, friends, if we learned anything from Touring After the Apocalypse, it's don't lose your whimsy. Don't lose your wanderlust nature and your want to journey. As humans, we were a culture of, how we started is probably through travel and looking for safety and looking for shelter. If you have the availability, please travel the world. Please see it for yourself. Please experience new cultures. Please just absorb what you can. We only have so much time.
And do it safely. Don't just run off a cliff because you hear a waterfall or you see a shadow.
Also, don't try to drive between 17 water spouts that are trying to fucking rip you asunder. Do you remember that movie Red Planet? I think it was back in the day, where it had like a big tornado that came out of the Mount. Not Mount Olympus, Mount Mons Olympus is what it's called. I think is whatever it is. The really big mountain on in Mars. It it was an alien thing and it was supposed to be a face. And Olympus Mons. That's
Is
what
this
it
the
was.
one with Val Kilmer? Not a sound.
I wanna
Not a
say
warning.
yes.
Not a chance. Not alone. Red Planet. The color of fear.
Maybe that's the one. But like it turns into a big hurricane or a big tornado, but the fucking mountain could like move the tornado and it like picks up a dude and just spins him around until he fucking explodes. And I watched that in middle school as a class that we went to go see this thing. It was supposed to be like a science thing. After the movie was done, the teachers were like, that was a huge mistake. Oops. That had nothing to do with real science.
Well,
At all.
I mean, the
Sorry
science,
about
if you spin a human so fast that they explode. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, the centrifugal
Yeah.
force just rips
Yeah, it
them
makes
apart.
sense to me.
Right. So that's what would have happened to Yoko if she wasn't so invulnerable to fucking the world. But yeah, that's not us. And just explore safely, please.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We have nothing else for you. So we will say, DJ Montague, tell them what time it is.
No, it's your line. I'm gonna say goodbye, and then you say
Okay.
goodbye. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you, friends, for checking out the Anime Book Club podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode.
And if you don't want to miss the next one, follow us on the socials where we announce new episodes, content, and other cool stuff. You can also check out our anime list with our rankings and follow along with what we're currently watching and what we have watched in the past.
All the links are in the description. See you in the next one. Bye!